Alright, we have reached the semifinals in Marrakech, but first I will talk a little bit about the final in Miami that just occurred. I think it was last Sunday now, so almost a week ago. That was between Yannick Sinner and Yuri Lehechka, and of course Sinner won that final in straight sets, exactly like I predicted and like most people predicted. So we have said this to death now, but Sinner has now won 34 sets in a row at Masters 1000 level. If you add the ATP finals, then it becomes 44 sets in a row. And he is on a 17 match winning streak at Masters 1000 level, and now we are going to move to the clay Masters events, with the first one being Monte Carlo, which is going to start soon. Probably going to start around Sunday, Monday, around there. So it'll be interesting to see how long he can keep this streak going. And he is not very far away from Carlos Alcaraz in the race for number one. I think that if he does better than Alcaraz in Monte Carlo, then he will become number one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there on a surface where it's not considered to be his best surface, clay. But he was 1 point away, as we all know, from winning the French Open last year. And it's kind of funny that he was 1 point away from doing that, from winning the biggest clay title there is, but he has actually never won a big clay title in his career. I believe that he has only won 250 titles on clay. I don't think he's ever won a 500 title, and he has definitely never won a 1000 or a Grand Slam on clay, even though he was, like I just said, 1 point away from winning the French Open. He probably should have won the French Open last year. So he will most likely not go his entire career without ever winning a big title on clay, especially with how close he was to winning the French Open. But again, it'll be interesting to see what happens there and who will break his streak of sets won at Masters 1000 level. But now we are in kind of the waiting period between Masters events after Miami ended. We have a week break before the next big tournament, which is Monte Carlo, and now we have started the official clay season, the European clay season. So we have 3 small tournaments going on, which are actually not all in Europe, even though I just said we have started the European clay season. We have 3 tournaments right now. We have one of them in Houston, which is of course in the United States, and then we have another one in Marrakech. This is the one where we have just gotten to the semifinals, and then we have the other one is in Bucharest in Romania. But this is considered to be the start of the European clay court swing anyway. So I will now talk about the semifinals in Marrakech that we have. A bit of an interesting tournament here, with all of the seeds losing except for the top seed, who has had the easiest path to the semifinals. He is also the defending champion at this tournament, Luciano Darderi, and he's only had to play 1 match in order to advance to the semifinals, because his opponent in the quarterfinals, who was the 8th seed Yannick Hanfmann, he withdrew from that quarterfinal match with an injury. So Darderi only had to defeat his countryman Mattia Bellucci in the round of 16 in order to advance to the semifinals. And now he will face not someone who would be considered to be the toughest opponent. As I said, all the seeds but Dardari have lost. But that is not surprising, especially in this small 250 tournament. As I said, we're in kind of the break between big events, so the top players are not playing these. The top players in the world, the top 10, they're not playing these small tournaments. Or maybe Shelton, he might be top 10, around there. But for the most part, the top 10 players are not playing these tournaments because they're just resting for the next big tournament in Monte Carlo. But we still have a lot of top 100 and more players who are hungry to win these smaller events. This is a 250 event, the Marrakech Open. And so it is not surprising that all the seeds but Dardari have lost, especially in these small tournaments. Really, anything can happen. Anyone can get upset, and that's exactly what happened here. So Dardari's opponent in the semifinal will be the Argentine player Marco Trungeliti, however you say his name, who is actually 36 years old, and I believe he has just entered the top 100 for the first time in his career at 36, and someone was saying that was a record for the oldest player to make his debut in the top 100. So he has had a great tournament here, reaching the semifinals of an ATP Tour event, maybe for the first or second time in his career. But now he will lose because he is playing the top seed in the tournament and the defending champion, who has only again had to play one straight sets match in order to get to this spot. Basically the complete opposite path of Trungeliti, who has had to play 5 matches to get here. That's pretty messed up when you think about it. But I mean, not really, because that's how the tour works. When you're higher, sometimes in these smaller tournaments you have to play fewer matches. But one guy is going into this semifinal having had to play only 1 match, and the other guy had to play 5 matches. And he just played a 3-set battle against Corentin Moutet, the 3rd seed, whom he eliminated in the quarterfinals. Trungeliti won that match 6-4 in the 3rd set. So I think that maybe he will be a little tired after that. Also, after having to play 5 matches, 2 qualifying matches, and then 3 matches in the main draw. He actually won all of his matches in straight sets in both the qualifying and main draw, except for his match against Moutet, where he lost the first set. That was the only set he has lost in this tournament. But I think that he will lose 2 straight sets tomorrow when he plays the top seed Dardari, because of the fact, like I just said, 5 matches having had to play versus 1 match, and that is just a jump. I mean, to be fair, he did just play the 3rd seed and win, but to defeat the 3rd seed and the top seed in a row is not easy for someone who has had to play that many matches and making his top 100 debut in maybe his first or second semifinal of his career at ATP Tour level. That will not be easy, even though it is a small tournament, so it is definitely much more plausible, but it will still not be easy to do. Dardari also being the defending champion, he has already won a clay court title this year and already been in multiple clay court finals. He has won maybe the most clay court titles, even though they have been small titles, in the last year or 2 than any other player on the tour. I heard something like that. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but he's definitely one of the players who has won the most clay court titles in the last year or 2. So for Trungeliti to defeat him, that would be extremely difficult. And that is why I think he will lose in straight sets. I just can't see enough reason for him to take a set here. I was not crazy convinced by his performance against Moutet. He actually did a lot of unforced errors in that match. So I just can't really see him I don't have enough good reason to say that he will take a set here against the top seed Dardri. Furthermore, Dardri, like I said, he's already won a title this year. Already been in another final. Chungaliti has, to be fair, he actually has won a few challenger titles in the past year, I think, 2 or 3. But I don't think he has been in any semifinals on ATP level in this past year, or maybe even in his entire career. So because of that, I just can't have him winning here. So I think Dardri will win this in straight sets and advance to the final here for the second consecutive year in Marrakech. And in the second semifinal, we have the teenager Rafael Hodar from Spain, who is making his breakthrough on the tour. He has now made his first ATP Tour semifinal in his career. And he will be taking on the Argentine Camilo Ugo Carabelli, who may be also in his first ATP Tour semifinal, but maybe he made 1 or 2 more. But I don't think he made, or actually he may have made a few, but I can't remember the last time that he was in a final. So it's difficult to use past data to predict the result of this match, because of course these players have never played before, because Hodar is only 19 years old. He has not played that many matches with a lot of these guys who compete on the ATP Tour in his career, comparatively speaking, of course. And Ugo, I think he was maybe in 2 semifinals last year, but I don't even know if they were ATP Tour events. If they were ATP events, then they were probably 250 events. They were either 250s or challengers, and he lost both of them. And this is Hodar's first semifinal of his career, so difficult to use those results to draw any conclusions about who will win this. So this is really a toss-up match. I think that it can go either way. I've not been crazy impressed by either of these players' performances, but I will give my slight edge to Ugo here. Even though he has played 3 consecutive 3-set matches, I don't think he will be that tired. I think he's one of the guys who does not really get tired very easily, because when I watch him play, he is actually doing a lot of running around and defending, and I think that's kind of what he likes to do, so I don't think stamina will be too much of an issue for him. Hodar, he has only lost 1 set in the tournament, after Alexandre Muller, his opponent in the quarterfinals, retired after losing the first set 6-2 and then going down 2-love in the second set. Hodar lost a set to the 4th seed Tomas Mahach in the round of 16, on his way to defeating Mahach in that match 6-3 in the third. But I would give my slight edge to Ugo here, just because of that experience factor, where I think he has been at least in a couple of semifinals in his career at this level. Hodar, this is his first semifinal. He's only 19 years old. And Ugo is also a clay court specialist. So I'll just give my slight edge to him there. And I'll say he defeats Hodar in 3 sets, but I'm not confident in this at all. So if Hodar wins, I will not be surprised at all. But my prediction will be that Ugo defeats Hodar in 3 sets. So once again, my predictions are that Dardri defeats Chungaliti in straight sets, and Ugo defeats Hodar in 3 sets, and we have a final between the top seed Luciano Dardri and the Argentine Camilo Ugo Carabelli.